The alarms rang through the corridor of the human outpost as smoke rolled across the metal floors. Mark ran toward the source of the chaos with a fire mask in one hand and a rescue pack in the other. He had faced storms across wild planets and fought through mechanical failures that would have crushed most crews. Yet nothing prepared him for what he found when he entered the ruined chamber. A small alien child sat trapped beneath a collapsed support beam. Her violet skin shimmered faintly, even under the falling sparks. Her wide eyes were filled with fear as she clutched her injured leg. Mark dropped his tools and knelt beside her. His voice stayed calm despite the burning heat around him. He asked if she could move, but she shook her head. The beam had pinned her ankle firmly in place. He studied the wreckage and realized he had only minutes before the entire structure gave way. He pulled a portable jack from his pack and slid it toward the beam. The metal groaned as he pumped the handle with steady pressure. At last the beam lifted enough for him to pull the child free. He scooped her into his arms and shielded her with his body as the ceiling buckled behind them. He ran through the smoke-filled corridor and reached the sealed outer door just as the chamber collapsed completely. Once outside, he laid her down gently on a clean medical cot. She looked up at him with trembling hands and whispered a thank you in broken human speech. He assured her that she was safe now. Moments later, a sudden roar filled the air above the outpost. The sky split open as a colossal alien vessel descended through glowing rings of light. Soldiers with polished armor rushed forward to kneel as a tall figure emerged from the central ramp. Her presence filled the entire landing field. Her skin bore the same violet hue as the child, and her long crest of silver strands moved behind her like a flowing banner. Her gaze swept across the outpost until it landed on the child resting on the cot. She rushed forward and knelt at her daughter's side. Relief washed across her regal face as she checked the injury. Mark stepped back out of respect, but the Queen's eyes found him before he could retreat far. She rose to her full height and walked straight toward him with powerful steps. Her voice carried authority that seemed to shake the air itself. She demanded to know who had saved her daughter. Mark answered with a simple introduction of himself. The Queen studied him for a long moment. Most humans would have felt crushed beneath the intensity of her stare, but Mark stood still. The Queen turned to her advisors and issued commands in her own language. The soldiers moved swiftly to secure the perimeter and stabilize the damaged structures. She then faced Mark again and declared that he would accompany her to her vessel. Mark hesitated. He explained that he needed to remain with his team and that the child was safe now. The Queen responded that safety was not the only matter. The one who had saved her daughter would be honored in a way no outsider had ever been. Before he could protest further, the Queen lifted her hand and invited him to follow. Mark knew he could decline firmly if he wished, but there was no aggression in her tone. Only gratitude and something else he could not name. With a cautious breath, he walked with her toward the vessel. Her daughter reached out from the cot to grasp his hand gently. The Queen saw this small gesture, and her expression softened. Once aboard the colossal ship, Mark felt as if he had stepped into another world. The corridors were lined with silver light that pulsed like the heartbeat of a living creature. He was escorted to a chamber that seemed crafted for both beauty and comfort. Transparent walls shifted into images of star fields, and soft cushions lined the room. The Queen entered with her daughter beside her. The child clung to her mother's long cloak while still casting shy glances toward Mark. The Queen asked her daughter to speak. In her soft voice, the child described everything that Mark had done, every risk he had taken, every moment he shielded her from falling debris. When the Queen heard how Mark had placed his own body between danger and the child, her posture changed with a silent emotional weight. She stepped closer to him and said that in her culture, such an act was not considered a simple rescue. It was a vow of protection that carried deep meaning. Mark tried to explain that humans often risk themselves for others out of instinct and compassion. The Queen replied that instinct or not, he had bound himself to her family by action alone. Mark felt warmth rise to his face, but he held his ground. He told the Queen that he expected nothing in return. She tilted her head with a thoughtful expression. She asked him if he believed his courage held no worth. He answered that saving lives was worth enough by itself. Her eyes softened with interest. The Queen dismissed the guards and sat down on a raised platform that glowed under her presence. She invited Mark to sit as well. Her daughter sat between them with a smile. The Queen spoke of old laws among her people, laws stating that one who saved a royal child became tied to the royal bloodline in a permanent bond of honor. Mark listened carefully and felt unease at the thought of such a commitment. He asked if the law could be declined respectfully. The Queen looked at him with a mix of amusement and curiosity. She explained that the law was old, but not enforced with chains. The bond was not imprisonment. It was devotion and recognition. She added that she desired his presence, not because the law demanded it, but because she wished to know the human who had risked everything for her daughter. Mark nodded and focused on the child beside them. She seemed relaxed now and leaned against him with gentle trust. He placed a hand on her shoulder and told the Queen that he would stay for a short time to ensure the child recovered fully. The Queen accepted this answer with a graceful nod. For several days, Mark remained aboard the ship. He learned more about the Queen's people. Their language flowed like music. Their customs valued bravery above status and compassion above power. Mark found himself treated with a warmth he had never known from any alien culture before. The Queen often visited the medical chamber where her daughter rested. Each time she arrived, she found Mark seated beside the child, telling stories of human explorers in forgotten worlds. The Queen listened quietly, at first, then began to ask questions. She wanted to understand human courage. She wanted to understand why Mark had acted without hesitation. He explained that he believed in doing the right thing, even when no one was watching. The Queen told him that among her people, such a belief marked a person as noble of heart. As the child healed, she spent more time. Walking around the ship with Mark, she showed him star maps engraved in crystal and elegant gardens filled with glowing plants. The Queen would sometimes join them and observe the way her daughter smiled around him. Mark felt honored to be trusted so deeply. One evening the Queen invited Mark to a large chamber filled with shimmering pillars of light. She wore ceremonial attire of silver cloth that flowed like liquid metal. She told him that this was the Hall of Oaths, a place where bonds of gratitude and allegiance were declared. Mark felt a sudden tension. He reminded her that he could not commit to a bond that would force him away from his own people. The Queen stepped closer and placed her hand near his arm without touching. She said that no oath would be forced. She only wished to speak truth. She walked around him slowly, and her voice echoed gently through the hall. She told him that his courage had saved not only her daughter, but also her hope in understanding other species. She admitted that her people had once viewed humans as proud yet reckless. But his act had shown her a strength guided by compassion. She then faced him directly and said that she wished for him to remain by her side, not as a captive, but as an honored companion. Mark's heartbeat quickened. He looked into her eyes and saw no deception, only sincerity and deep admiration. Mark asked what such companionship would mean among her people. The Queen answered plainly that it meant loyalty, trust, shared decisions, and a lasting place in her court. The weight of her words settled over him. He explained that humans valued freedom highly. She replied that she valued it as well. She promised that if he chose to stay, it would be by his will alone. At that moment, her daughter entered the chamber. She ran to Mark and wrapped her arms around his waist. She told him that she wanted him to stay. Mark felt his resolve shake. He had spent years drifting from assignment to assignment with no real ties. Yet here, in this hall of alien light, he felt a connection stronger than anything he had known. He knelt beside the child and assured her that he cared for her deeply. He then stood and faced the Queen again. He asked for time to consider her request. The Queen accepted his answer without hesitation. She stepped forward and placed a hand over her heart in a gesture of respect. Mark did the same. Over the next days, Mark wandered the ship with quiet reflection. Crew members greeted him warmly. The Queen visited him during meals and spoke with gentle interest about his life. Her presence brought a calm assurance that he had rarely felt with anyone. He realized that she did not seek to dominate him. She sought partnership built on mutual respect. When the repairs on the outpost neared completion, the Queen informed him that her ship would soon depart. She told him that she would not ask again for his decision. It had to be his choice. Mark looked at the stars through the transparent wall of his chamber and thought of everything he had experienced. He had saved a life, gained unexpected trust, and found a plaque.